Somebody, an American author said you have as many personalities as you have friends. Well, I think Prince Harry and Meghan seem to have as many charities as they have friends, and one of them, the Archewell, has now got into trouble, much like Harry's charity in Africa. And there's a company, there's a person who runs a thing called the Milwaukee Women's Coalition or something, the MMWC. It sounds like a place you drop into briefly, and she's called Janan Najib, and it seems that she wrote a piece about Palestine last year in February, and it's only now come to light at Archewell, and they've decided that they don't like what she said, and has uh, and I think she must be she must have had a role in Archewell, and she's been dumped. I think Archewell went against she went against its values or something, or it just seems disturbing because all she was actually doing was writing an article about Israel's 75 years, quote, I quote, now I quote, 75 years of occupation of Palestine and genocide in Gaza. I don't think I would go so far as to say that. She talks about the grave injustice. Uh, I would certainly approve of that statement. I think the Palestinians are suffering a grave injustice both in the West Bank and in Gaza. And then she called for an end of the army, of apartheid occupation, an end of the apartheid state of Israel, and a liberation of Palestine. That's something that, frankly, is echoing what Yasser Arafat said in, I think, about 1964. She also quoted the slogan from the "A river to the sea, Palestine shall be free, Palestine will live forever." Well, of course, that implies the eradication of Israel, which I don't think is a sane request. I do think it's entirely sane and entirely in order to promote the idea of a two-state solution. I also think it's entirely correct to protest against the treatment of Palestinians by the Israeli hierarchy at the moment. But equally, I think it's terribly important to make it clear that Israel has um, a right to exist. Israel has a noble and a proud history, and Israel has a right to defend itself. My problem is I don't think Netanyahu's conduct, the way he has conducted the war against Gaza, has been self-defense. I think it's gone beyond that point. I think it's moved towards collective punishment, and it's moved towards um, an attempt to eradicate the Gazan people. And I think that is both worrying and probably criminal. But at the same time, I think if somebody's made a comment a year ago, I don't think they should be castigated for it today simply because um, the Archewell authorities. I cannot imagine this is Prince Harry or Meghan who have done this. I imagine it's some busybody bureaucrat who suddenly says, "Oh, she said this. Oh, off she goes, off she goes." I think, I think really, um, this is the time when Harry ought to bottom through it, and just get on with it. Um, who was it who said not without his strawberries? I can't remember who said that, but it's all it's um, the problem with bureaucrats is, and I think this is something Kenneth Williams said years and years ago. People are getting better and better at doing less and less, and eventually someone will become brilliant at doing nothing, and and that I think is the obvious trajectory that bureaucracy and bureaucrats are taking. this minutiae of comments and observations which will eventually get you into trouble. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but perhaps in 10 years' time, you'll have to answer for what you said back then, or what someone said about you back then. And that's gone. That moment has passed. That, as Disney said, that ship has sailed. And um, I think there's a point at which you draw a line, and somebody isn't defined by what they say; they're defined by what they do. And if the Archewell charity was so disappointed with Janan Najib, um, then I think that would be a reason for dumping her. But to find some little phrase here or there which she might have inadvertently said, jumping on a political bandwagon, I don't think. I think it's a bit rich. Apparently, these are not values that are shared by Archewell, but I think there are many values that we don't share, and yet we tolerate people because otherwise they're doing a good job and they mean well. Uh, and I think if somebody expresses something with which I disagree profoundly, I would rather have them in my orbit so that I can persuade them that they're wrong, rather than casting them aside so they can go and spread that bile elsewhere. I would much rather I would much rather foster a change of mind and a change of heart than I would to see them thrown into exile.